All right. Super, super pumped. This is the first recorded episode. I don't know if it's gonna be the first released, but first recorded. We'll see how it goes. I think it's gonna go pretty well. But we got John Creel on. John has quite a bit of Skrilla on social media within the pitching world. Um, Obviously, spent some time with the Mariners. Is now a free agent, and I think has one of the most interesting stories of any guy that's in the pitching development world. If you're a baseball player, 100% should follow, should interact. And I've got some fun topics to talk about, but John, I'll pass it off to you. The funny thing about this is that this is actually like the first time we've ever actually
Yeah, I think we actually have interacted so much on social media that people just assume we know each other. Like Turner will just come up to me and talk to me, and he's like, "Yeah, your boy Jack." I'm like, "Yeah, he's my boy Jack," but I've literally never met the guy or spoken to him like face to face ever in my life.
Yeah, I think you can get a pretty good gauge on someone based on like social media interactions. And I've told a ton of people like some of the coolest people I've met, I've just like started interacting with on social media. And then you have like a Zoom call with them where you talk to them face to face, and you're like, "Damn, you're exactly like you, like I'd expect," you know? So,
100%.
so yeah. But yeah, man, I'll pass it off to you. Just kind of like take a few minutes, share your story a little bit. Just tell people who you are.
I'm John Creel, Charlotte, North Carolina is where I'm from. Went to like 5 different colleges, played all over. Went to Ole Miss as a freshman. Got the classic like 1 year red shirt, cut after the year, just didn't make it. Honestly, like a great learning experience, as cheesy as it sounds. Like I really don't think there's anywhere better to have like a redshirt year than at a program with that much like history and esteem. Bounced back to junior college back in Raleigh, North Carolina, where my brother actually was. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do after Ole Miss, but I knew I wanted to keep playing. And my brother was actually a catcher at Wake Tech in Raleigh, North Carolina, so it was pretty much an easy decision. And all my boys went to NC State at the time, so it was like I get to go home, hang out with all my high school buddies, and like throw to my brother for 2 years, like kind of a no brainer. Went there, found a lot of success, started getting into all the drive line, weighted ball, baseball training stuff. I ended up working my way up to the mid upper 90s, got up to like 97, and then had a bunch of draft buzz. And in that conference tournament in my last inning, blew out my elbow. And I didn't know it at the time, but I threw a pitch and it felt like my elbow like disconnected and slammed back together. And I just thought I had like bone spurs or something. I wasn't really sure, but yeah, long story short, blew out there. And then that's when the injury stuff started. Had a bone spur removal. That obviously didn't work. Then I had a PRP because the first MRI said there was no tear in the middle. It was just on the attachment. So I had a PRP for that. It actually fixed the tear on the attachment, but then it didn't work because we got another MRI like 6 months later and it showed an 80% tear in the middle of the ligament. And then the writing was pretty much on the wall at that point. So we went down to James Andrews down in Florida, cut me open, did the Tommy John, went to NC State for a year, was injured the whole time because of all that stuff, and then graduated from there. Was pretty much done with college baseball. I thought it was just like, all right, we're going to rehab, try to throw hard, and get a free agent job somewhere. And then COVID hit, and I guess the silver lining for me was that I got another year of eligibility. So instead of having to force my way into a pro workout or just kind of like wait until my velocity came back, I got the chance to play for another year. Buddy of mine actually got the pitching coach job at the University of Akron, so it made the choice like pretty easy. Went there, loved it. Coaching staff was awesome. It's cold up there. Ohio's not the place for warm weather if that's what you're looking for, but I loved the program, loved the coaches. Couldn't have had a better experience there. Not a great year performance-wise. It was like 1,000 years I went without playing. And so came back was super rusty. Had some good flashes, had some not so good outings, but overall great experience. And then came back to Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where I met your boy Turner. He was is my throwing coach at Tread Athletics. And then just kind of started rebuilding myself up. Got back up to the mid 90s, threw in a pro day, had a really good day, got signed by the Mariners, and then, played with them for about a year and a half. Love those guys. They treated me so well. Nothing but good things to say about them. released about a month ago, and yeah, now we're back to not square one, but we're back where we started this free agent thing in Tread Athletics in North Carolina. So it's kind of nice to be home. Honestly, it's bittersweet, obviously not being with the Mariners, but a lot of pluses of getting to come home and getting to be around, my family, my fiance, and all that stuff. So it's not all bad.
How's the house coming along?
It's great, dude.
For those
It's
listening,
great. We're
John's closing
getting the
the house again.
inspector
Yeah.
coming in on Friday. It's way more than I thought it was. There's like 18 different inspections you got to do. It's not actually 18. It's probably like 6, but it feels like 18.
Right.
And then we close in like 2 weeks, and you got 14 days to get everything together. And if you don't get it together, it falls through. So we're calling everybody left and right, loan people, inspectors, radon tests, termite tests, the whole shebang. So that's an
Nice.
experience. I'll say it's an experience. I won't say it's a good one, but I will certainly say it's an experience.
Yeah. Part of the Rocky
Yeah.
cutscenes, like everything, like all the bad stuff happening now. It's gonna be like
Yeah.
the middle of the
Unfortunately,
cut. And then, like,
no pump up music
dust.
for house buying. You just calmly walk around suburban houses. So
Yeah. We'll make sure we put like some. I don't know what kind of music you listen to, but like we'll put some in the background.
Oh, yeah.
You did kind of have that sort of like, because I've been following you even before you got signed by the Mariners, but like you had that kind of progression to where it was like I think you're the poster child for a lot of guys that are probably gonna be listening to this, to where it's like I'm going to sell out for this no matter what. And some guys say that, right? And they're just like, yeah, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. But I think you are the epitome of saying like, yeah, I'm literally going to like give this one last shot and sell out for it. And you've seen the driveline videos, you've seen obviously Treads put out some stuff like that. Like it's becoming more and more commonplace to guys taking that gap year, or guys taking that year like post college, to where they just go out and train and give themselves that opportunity. When did you kind of make that decision? And was there like one kind of like, trigger moment, or one kind of thing that allowed for you to say, I'm not done with this. I'm literally going to exhaust every financial, mental, physical capacity that I have in order to do this?
I guess it wasn't really like one thing. It was kind of just a general feel over time. I went through, I think it was actually, I did the math when I was in college. I can't remember how many days it was, but it was like 1,080 something days between my last outing in junior college and the next time I pitched in a game. So it was like I went through like almost 3 years, or like darn almost exactly 3 years, just to pitch, and to pitch pretty poorly, honestly. I think I had like a 6.5 ERA, a bunch of walks, didn't punch that many people out. I think I punched out less than one an inning, and I was throwing like 89. I'm like, all right, 3 years of this to come here and be bad, like that's just not it. Like I can't, like if I want to quit and coach, I'll quit and coach later, but we got to at least take like a year and figure this out, because I didn't do all that work just to go out here and be as bad as I was. Like that's not how I'm ending my career. Thankfully got around a group of really great people, and like they helped me a ton, but it was really just kind of this feeling of like, well, I could quit, and then I'd like look at my buddies who will have great jobs, and they're living in Charlotte and having a good time, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I'd rather just be injured or bad. So let's just keep it going. And then a lot of things clicked, and we had a lot of success, thankfully. But it was really just kind of like, what's like, what am I gonna do? You know what I mean? And none of the alternatives were very attractive. So I was like, okay, we're gonna keep throwing this baseball around and see if we can get better at it.
Yeah. No, it's literally like it's been part of your, whether you like it or not. I think for a lot of guys, it's like part of your identity, and the thought of that getting stripped away is scary.
Absolutely.
But the fact of the matter is that like some guys kind of grasp onto that, but they never really understand how much work it's going to take, and like how long the process is going to be, and then they end up quitting down the road just because it's too much for them to take. But I mean, the fact that you've kind of came out on the other side of that and are still actively pursuing that goal of playing in the big leagues,
Totally.
So I want to roll over to that. Like what has been, like, give an update on like where you're at training wise. What are the main focuses for you? Again, follow John on social media. He's very good at updating what he's doing training wise, sharing his training thoughts. But what has been that focus for you
Biggest thing
recently?
is just, fastball velocity. The whole time I was with the Mariners, it was kind of like, I was like 90, 92, 93, and it's like 26-year-old reliever with average command. Like, there's really not a spot in the big leagues for a reliever sitting 91. And, the Mariners made that abundantly clear. They gave me tons of, it was pretty much like, hey, man, like, this is what you're doing. Velocity wise, you need to be here. And when you do that, everything else, X, Y, and Z jumps up, and you're like a completely different pitcher just by, 2, 3 miles an hour. But, it takes velocity takes time, and that's the biggest thing. And that's why I'm back here at Tread. We're throwing, the classic like Tuesday touch and feel, Friday velo pen, trying to like figure out some different movements, letting it rip every week just to like kind of get that quick twitch going and hoping like the velocity's climbing right now. We're in a really good spot, but it just wasn't. That's like really the limiting factor this past year and a half was like there's so many dudes that can get in there and fill it up at 91. There's not many dudes that can get in there and fill it up at 94, 95, 96. So it's really like if you want to
Facts.
set yourself apart, there's like kind of the bell curve. The middle's like 92, 93, and the second you jump like from 92 to 95, you're like one of the harder throwers, in not minor league baseball, but you'll be definitely like the upper echelon of your team. So, that's pretty much it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel really dialed with like the off speed stuff. Mariners helped me so much, just refining that, really having kind of a weapon of a slider. I kind of just used to throw this slurvy gyro thing, and it was okay. But I
Mm-hmm.
fully committed to the sweeper now, and it was definitely an adjustment, but that feels good. I have to throw this cutter that I can hammer in the zone for strikes when I need it, and it's just playing those two off a fastball. That's not that impressive. There's really nothing holding hitters back from just kind of selling out for that off speed stuff.
Hell yeah. Are we ripping the GoMad and Oreos diet right
No,
now,
dude.
or is that a thing of the
We
past?
used to, man. I mean, the issue was the GoMad and Oreos diet works to perfection. So I got up to when I was in junior college, I was like pushing 240, easily 25% body fat. Like I was not, the peak athletic performance that, you see on social media or whatever. It was a lot of like
Yeah,
just slugging calories to make it happen. And it helped me a ton. But,
yeah,
I'm 26. I can't be doing a gallon of milk a day and 20 Oreos. I wish it'd be nice.
right. Yeah, when we get that lazy boy in the house, we can't have it collapsing on
Absolutely. We're
us.
getting one of those. You better
So
believe. I told
yeah,
my fiance the one thing I'm not negotiating on is we're getting the comfiest couch I can find, and that is that. Like I'm not settling for some like
yeah,
pretty, like some nice art, like aesthetic couch that's not comfortable. Like no chance. Like I'm having the most comfortable
yeah,
couch no matter what.
yeah. Are we watching Zips games? Or are we watching Wolfpack games in the fall on that thing?
So on this guy, we're watching the Wolfpack. Their football team's much more enjoyable to cheer for. And as an alumni, like I feel like I can still cheer for them, even though I really didn't play for them baseball wise. But the
Yeah.
Zips actually they got a new coach and they got a bunch of transfers from LSU because that's where the coach came from. So it's looking like they're
Oh,
actually. It's funny enough. They're actually the team on the last NCAA football game. They're like the team you start with when you do like Road to Heisman or whatever it is. And so
yeah,
they're the worst team in college football that year. And now they're slotted to make a bowl this year, some like bowl in the Bahamas or something, some toilet bowl that nobody cares about. But yeah, we're watching NC State
hey,
games for sure.
Tuesday night action,
Action,
man. It's
baby.
enjoyable. You gotta have it. You gotta get some midweek college
I actually I
football.
actually
It's
didn't
good stuff.
realize like how much of a following Maction had because it's the only thing you can gamble on Tuesday or Wednesday nights, whenever it is.
Right. It's good stuff, man. It's like it's still college football, no matter how you
Yeah,
chalk
it's
it up.
it's
So
it is in fact college
yeah.
football, barely, but it is.
um, speaking on the diet stuff, I think that's one of the questions I get in my DMs, and I know that you're a big question receiver in the DMs
For
as
sure.
well. Um, I want to start with what's the most common thing you get, and then the question that I gave to you earlier. What advice would you give to the 15-year-old that's giving you dry reps in the YMCA gym?
Did I tell you about the guy that gave me that question? Is that because I actually have a dude that gave
You
me like
did,
video of him doing like dry reps with a towel in a YMCA gym and slides,
yeah.
and I didn't know if you just knew that or.
Yeah, two separate times I went back and I looked and I was like, Yeah, sure enough. And then I think I probably got one from the same exact guy.
I
So
guess first I'll go to that guy. The advice I have for that guy is that your head's in the right place and your heart's in the right place, and you're already doing more than most high schoolers, I would say. I don't think high schoolers, I bet 70, 80% of them don't even think about baseball when they go home. And if they're going to the gym, they're like
mhm,
just like hitting some curls with their buddies and then going home, maybe some bench or something. But if you're actively thinking of
doing nothing.
baseball outside of high school and outside of practice at 14, 15, like you're in a really good place. But we need to stop doing dry reps and we need to just focus on becoming as strong as you can. Throw some med balls around, hit the bench press, squat, deadlift, nothing too complicated. Just, do whatever you enjoy doing in the gym. Try to get as strong as you can so that you have a chance to go and play college baseball, and stop doing dry reps and go long toss a couple times a week. It's honestly the
Yeah.
thing, it's much simpler for 14, 15 year olds than everybody thinks it is. I mean, at 14 years old, I threw like 75, and I think overall that's pretty good
Hmm.
for like the general population. But like, I was on a really good travel team, and I was the slowest thrower. But they saw me as like the classic projectable, like the 6'5", 170-pound kid. And so I just
Yeah.
started lifting weights with my buddies who were on the football team and throwing 5 days, actually long tossed 5 days a week out to like 250, 300 feet every single day, which is probably overkill, but I gained like 7 or 8 miles an hour that year. I went from like 75, 77 to like mid 80s. And it's like,
There
you
you
just
go.
kind of train, the throwing ability to let that thing fly and then just gradually get stronger in the gym. Cause for me, I was kind of at the point it didn't matter what I did. I could have gotten on the Stairmaster for, an hour, and it would have put me in a better spot, honestly.
Yeah. Did you play any other sports in high
Yeah, I
school?
swam. I actually saw your
Nice.
swimming thing the other day, and honestly, I could not.
Yeah.
I don't know if I responded or sent it to you, but I couldn't agree more. Swimming was like the best thing for my shoulder. It gave me like infinitely
Hmm.
more range of motion in my scap thoracic, like that area. I think it was probably the reason I got hurt because I was super weak and had just infinite amounts of range of motion, and I threw decently hard. I
Hmm.
was like, by the time I was 16, 17, I was throwing like upper 80s, low 90s. So it was like no strength, a ton of range of motion, and high velocity. That's just like kind of a bad combo for arm health. But honestly, I
Hmm.
fully attribute a lot of the velocity I had at a young age to swimming.
Yeah. It's all like concentric action too, which I was thinking
Hmm.
about today. Like, I guess for like D cell patterns of the scap, you can make
Hmm.
that argument as far as like, I mean, I only rip
Yeah,
freestyle, maybe like some backstroke at
sure.
the end.
Backstroke's sick because it's,
But my
it's the only
sister
one you can
swam in
like
college.
breathe and like take a break on while still going. So if you ever
Exactly.
go to like a
That's why I
swim
finished with
practice,
that. It's the cool down.
if the coaches will be like, you'll swim this many laps of this stroke, this many laps of this stroke, and then you'll do a couple laps choice. Every single swimmer picks backstroke as their choice because they can just breathe the whole time and coast it. So if you ever see like a
Yeah.
big group and they're all doing
Yeah.
backstroke, they're all just trying to take it easy and survive.
Yeah. Those are the kids that are coaches and
Yeah,
watching, like,
100%,
just turn around.
100%.
Um, yeah, no, my sister swam in college, and so she got me
Nice.
into it like early, and she was right in the like the Michael
Yeah,
Phelps like
that's your area,
the
right? He's a
2007.
Baltimore guy.
Yeah, I mean he is a
Mhm.
Baltimore guy. Um, I don't know if I don't need to cut this. Michael Phelps isn't going to listen to this, but like he got arrested in the town that I went to college
Yeah.
at. So that was like that was like one of our claims to fame is that he got his DUI
No way.
in Salisbury,
That's sick.
Maryland.
Where'd your
So shout
sister
out
swim?
Salisbury. She swam at
Okay.
Delaware.
So to be D1 swimmer, you got to be
Yeah.
nuts.
So
Like the qualifications to make it as a D1 like swimmer is like, I think it's like the lowest scholarships per capita or like per roster spot sport. So like anybody who swims
yeah,
Division 1 is like really really good.
yeah, she did. So she did a this is a plug for Courtney if
Oh
she's
yeah.
listening. She will. She's my sister. She supports me. But she did an article for the New York Times her sophomore year of college, and she was paired up with a Villanova baseball player, and it was talking about how low budget sports, how they allocate
Mhm.
scholarships, and basically it came down to like her making her decision on a school based on scholarship money and just kind of like where our family was at the
Mhm.
time. And then I forget the name of the Villanova baseball player, but he was receiving like $2,000 a year. And Villanova, if you know, is like
50. Yeah.
private school. So
Yeah.
exactly. So so they were just
Well,
talking about how like
4%
scholarships. Right, exactly. Like, it's 11.7, right, for baseball. At least it was at the
Mhm.
time. I think the rules have changed. I'm not exactly sure, but like, you know, you're you're waving pennies at
Oh,
guys
yeah.
at that point. So, um, but yeah, it's very like it was very much like her recruiting process. I think it's actually kind of like similar to baseball, to where like you can go to a showcase and watch a guy hit a number on a
Mhm.
gun, and like they move to the top of the
Yeah.
list. For her, it was like she just has to get a
Yeah.
time. They're going to look at personalities a little bit. They're going to look at and see if the school's a fit, but it's pretty much just like she swims this time in the 500, this time in the
Yeah.
mile. Like, all
We're in
right,
there. Go
top
get
of the
them.
list.
Like, you
So
want to come? Yeah.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's really good for the shoulder. It helped my shoulder a
Mhm.
ton as I get back into
Yeah.
throwing more consistently, which I'm
It's
very
also
excited
sick
about.
too
But
because you burn so many
um,
calories, you can literally just eat whatever you want, and it doesn't matter.
oh, it's the best. Have you ever seen the Saturday Night Live Michael Phelps diet skit?
No, but I saw the Michael Phelps, like the actual diet where he was eating legitimately like 6,000 calories a day or something at like
Yeah,
4% body
Saturday Night
fat.
Live did like a spoof on it, and it was like a Weight Watchers
Yeah.
commercial, and it was saying like, "Oh yeah, like you can eat like Michael Phelps. You can eat all this stuff. All you have to do is burn 12,000 calories a day." Like, it was so
Oh
funny.
yeah.
It was so good. Um, I want to. So I mean, like you've been creating content for a while, which is obviously how we connected, and it's crazy to see like how the world is shifting to where like now you can actually like make connections with people through content. But when did you start doing that? What's been like your kind of favorite part of that, and what prompted you to start like sharing your story, and I guess you could say like building a little bit of a personal brand now as well.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. I never really viewed it as like making content or like a brand or whatever. I kind of just
Hmm.
it really started after my freshman year at Ole Miss. I got cut, and then that following summer, I shipped myself out to Driveline to try and like figure out my velocity. And I would just post videos of
Hmm.
me training, and like honestly, it was just because I thought the place was sick, and I thought it was cool that I was there. And then I gained a bunch of velocity back, and like I was like, okay, I'm gonna post this video of me throwing because like the Ole Miss coaches still follow me on Twitter, and they cut me, so like, what's good? Like I'm gonna show you guys this. And then
Yeah.
it was like
How about
some
this?
of the videos got a lot of attention, and they make jokes about how you see like dopamine sensors go off whenever you see people liking your tweet, but that's like legitimately what it was back in the day. I was just like, all right, we're doing it. And then there was just this tight baseball community on there, and a lot of them were my friends. So I just wanted to kind of stay in touch. And then, next thing you know, you've been doing it for like 3.5 years, and you've put a lot of stuff on there from getting cut, finding a new school, elbow surgeries, rehabs, throwing hard. Like people have just kind of seen you go through a lot of different things. And it was kind of funny. I didn't really realize like how many people have seen it, and it's not even that big of a Twitter. It's like I got like 4,000
Hmm.
followers or something, but it's like whenever I was with the Mariners, they're like, "Oh, you're the dude who does the Twitter page," and I'm like, I mean, I guess like I just kind of view it as I just kind of like get on there and like shoot from the hip and like tweet some stuff out whenever I feel like
Yeah.
it. But it's been fun. You meet a ton of like really cool people in there, and the baseball community is so small, and so many of them are on there. Like I know buddies who met the GM of an MLB organization and like by accidentally DMing this guy who didn't in his bio say he was the GM of an organization, and next thing you know, they're talking to the GM of the Angels or something. Like all sorts of
Yeah.
weird stories on there of like, Kyle Bodie actually was talking about it a while back, but he was like, "Yeah, I wrote this blog and posted on Twitter for 3 years." And then I got a call from like the Rays general manager, and he said, "Yeah, I followed your blog for 3 years. Like, it's great. Like, you're super smart. You're going to be in Pro Bowl one day." And Kyle was like, "What do you mean you followed my blog for 3 years? Like, 15 people read my posts. Like, what do you mean?" So it's
Yeah.
just like, it's really
Yeah.
cool. Like, you'll see everybody on there, and everybody sees it. And it's specifically to baseball. I don't think there's a stronger community on any social media, really, from like as far as like a niche community.
Hmm.
Like the day one with the Mariners, the pitching coordinator walked up to me and was like, "Hey man, I'm Max. Like I follow you on Twitter." And I was like, "Oh God, like I hope you don't, because like maybe I said something stupid." But no, it's honestly awesome, man. Like it's been fun. Like I get to see like now there's just like every baseball player has their account now and like post their videos and stuff, and it's cool to see like so many people just like getting better on there by getting feedback from random people and being able to reach out to anybody. Like, it's really just such a cool app, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of in the same boat to where like I started my training Instagram. I wasn't even on Twitter. This is like 2 years
Mm-hmm.
ago at this point. And it started out as Devin Hayes,
Yeah.
another former tread
Mm-hmm.
guy. He was just like, you need to make a training Instagram because you need to post your own training. I was in like a weird spot where I was like doing jujitsu and Muay
Mm-hmm.
Thai and like wasn't really doing
Yeah.
baseball stuff. I was like lifting a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. It was like make a training Instagram and just like start putting stuff out because that's the same thing
Mm-hmm.
he did. And as soon as I started doing it, like you said, the community just started to
Mm-hmm.
grow. I started to connect with people. And when I wouldn't, come and sit in my house in Baltimore to where people are like, what the hell do you do for work? Or like, you still do the baseball
Yeah.
thing, whatever. It's like, screw them because I can get on my phone and I got a bunch of friends that love what
Yeah.
I'm doing. Like
It's
screw
like, I
you.
have
Like,
friends.
I
They're
don't
just not
care.
here right now.
Uh,
I promise.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, so it's been awesome. And like, literally, like you said, just shooting from the hip. It's like if something does great, awesome, because it was authentic.
Mm-hmm.
If it does terrible, who cares? Like
100%.
it's just you at the end of the day,
Yeah.
which has been awesome. I want to talk. I want to get like not serious, but just like I want to talk about your approach to like overcoming hardship. And I heard this quote the other day, and it was uncertainty or emotions that arise are just a signal for something that needs to get done. And so I think that might relate to you a little bit just because you've obviously dealt with your fair share of like hardship, but I think every time you've also shown through experience that it's more of an opportunity than
Mm-hmm.
anything. And so, like during those times when you're dealing with the injuries, you're transferring, even right now, being a free agent, like how do you approach those times? What's kind of like your first action step? And like, what advice would you give to somebody who's dealing with, a coaching change or a transfer or an injury or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that?
I mean, that quote you said is pretty good. I like it. I think that's pretty accurate for a lot of things. But for me, it's kind of always just been, I think I mentioned it earlier, but it's always just been like okay, so what else are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like, am I going to go coach? Am I going to go work in
Mm-hmm.
finance? Like, I see my buddies me and my buddy grab coffee every week at like 7:30 in the morning because that's the only time he's like available to hang out. And every time I see him, it's like he's 7:30, he's, shirt, tie, ready to go. And he loves his job and he's great at it, makes a ton of money. But it's like, I look at him and I'm like, no, we're going to go to the gym today and we're going to train really hard because I'd rather do that.
Yeah.
But it's like, I
Yeah.
mean, you've seen like Dean Jackson on Twitter talking about it a lot. He's like, what else am I going to do? I'm just going to do this for as long as it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to run my life into the ground. I know Dean is ready to do this thing until the very end. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
if I don't see a path to the big leagues, if I don't see a way for me to, achieve my goals, then, the second that's a reality, like, okay, we'll take it to the house, we'll go do something else. But until that time, like, it could be selling insurance somewhere. It could be, X, Y, and Z working for like a real estate company or something. Like, I don't know. Like, I'd rather throw baseballs around, have fun doing it. And like, if that's what I'm going to do, like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put everything towards it. But there's nothing else I really want to do right now. So thankfully I'm lucky. Like, I've been super, super fortunate to have something that I care about. A lot of my friends don't have jobs that they really like. I'm sure a lot of your buddies who are like working good jobs, they're by all means like super successful. And it's just like, they're just kind of waiting for 5 o'clock or for Friday to roll around so they can not do that thing for, 2, 3 days. And it's just like, yep, that's not where I'm at. I'm going to keep doing this baseball thing. And, whenever I don't get to anymore, I don't get to anymore. And I hope I handled that well. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if I will, but, I'm not going to force that on me anytime yet. So let's just keep going.
Yeah. There's definitely a sense of like freedom in like choosing your destiny,
Absolutely.
no matter what
Mm-hmm.
like the current like
Mm-hmm.
circumstances. All related to like having friends around the area. Like I'd turned down 3 fantasy leagues this year because I'm like I can't be in 8 fantasy leagues, and they're like, well, what do you do during the day? And I'm like, I work. And they're just like, and like it clicked in my mind. I'm like, oh, these guys go to jobs to where like they work for an hour a
Yeah.
day, and then they sit and they wait for 5 o'clock
Yeah.
to hit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so like that point resonated with me because it's like, yeah, they're working for the paycheck. Does it mean they like it or don't
Sure.
like it? I don't
Yeah.
know. But like there's probably a little bit of a sense of freedom that they have as well, knowing that like the paycheck's going to show up on Friday no matter what. They've got the weekend. They don't have to worry about work.
Mm-hmm.
To where like there's another flip side of the coin to where it's like there's some guys, and I would put yourself, myself, a lot of other guys in that same category, Dean, like you just mentioned, where it's like they want to be consumed by what they're doing because they wouldn't have it any other way.
Absolutely.
Even at this current moment in time, if it like doesn't, you know, if it doesn't pan out, doesn't matter. Like they're going to find another avenue to feed that competitiveness, to feed that sort of like drive and purpose and everything.
Absolutely.
And so I love that. I love that environment, that
No
community.
doubt. It's really,
because
there's
it
really
goes
like
back to,
nothing,
making those connections.
nothing better than like getting, like I get to roll in like every day and, you know, train for 4 or 5 hours. Like all my friends are there. Like I'm friends with all the staff at Tread now. I've been there for so freaking long. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, what could I possibly, like everybody's like, oh my gosh, you work so hard. You suffer through so much. I'm like, no, it's really a great time. I promise you. Like you get to roll up whenever you
Yeah.
wake up, you eat some breakfast, roll into the facility, hang out with your boys and throw a ball around for a couple hours, lift some weights, go home. You know, I coach some. I get to work with like young kids, like learning to play ball for the first time. Like I taught, like I gave a 7-year-old his first pitching lesson yesterday, and it was like that was so much fun. Like it's such like a refreshing perspective on a game of baseball. That like the older you get, the more it just like beats you down, beats you down, beats you down. And like this kid was literally smiling for 45 straight minutes. Like he would throw a pitch to the backstop and just be like I'm just like, this is the one, it's the cutest thing I've ever seen. Two, like this is like the most wholesome and like reinforcement of like why I do what I do, because it's, you know, I mean, yeah, like there are some downsides of it. Like, you know, you get released, you have a bad outing, like it's crushing, but it's like, you know, you get back up the next day and you get to do the same thing again. And it's like, I really wouldn't trade it.
Yeah, you're not sitting in the
Yeah, could be doing that.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Your mouse is a ball with seams on it, and your spreadsheets are programs.
Dear
you know,
God,
all
dude.
that good stuff. Yeah, yeah. One of the ways that we connected that I wanted to touch on is through. I'm gonna pull it up. Give me 1 second. Through. This is really bad radio right here. All right, I don't have the actual thing. I can't find it, but this strap was on my wrist for the last,
this guy?
For the last probably through the last, yeah, that guy right there. So this guy, I actually have the bicep band somewhere too. Yeah, we got the Muay Thai Jiu-Jitsu bicep sleeve right here as well. Yeah, stick it right in there. But so we've gone back and forth on this. I was out on Whoop. I was in on Whoop first. I was probably like one of the OG Whoop guys. And I got it from Ben. Like when I rolled into Tread for my first day of work, like everyone had Whoops on. Devin, live by the sword, die by the sword, Whoop. Like if my scores are down, I suck. If my scores are good, we're gonna rip. Like we had the team competition, right? Like everybody's competing for scores.
Okay.
And then I was out on it, like took it off. I was like, I can't be tied to this thing. And then like this summer when I was coaching and sleeping like 3-4 hours a night, I was like, let me see my sleep's doing. Let me see like what my numbers are, how many calories I'm burning, stuff like that. And I put it back on. So, I mean, I think it has a lot of application, but I want to hear your take on it because you still wear it every single day. I've watched enough videos, I've heard enough podcasts of people talking about the good, the bad. I would say at this point, I'm kind of in that camp to where there is some good, there is some bad, but what is your take on it? What do you think the application is? Is it something that you think everyone should be wearing? Just kind of give your general thoughts, and then we'll kind of take it where it leads.
So, like, honestly, I think, you know, you kind of view yourself as like an anti-Whoop guy, and you view me as like a pro-Whoop guy, but I bet our opinions on it are literally exactly the same. It's like,
yeah,
I think it's good. You know, it tracks a bunch of stuff. If you see your score and you're going to pitch bad, you're stupid, and you should like just never look at your Whoop score until after you pitch. I've had good outings with it. I've had bad outings with it, like with good scores and bad scores. Like during the season, I generally don't look until after I pitch, just because like no reason to put any like negativity in your head. Um, I had an outing where I walked the house and gave up a nuke, and I had a 97 recovery score. I had an outing where I went 4 innings, like no walks, 8 punchies, like one hit, had a 24. Like it's not something I live by or die by, but for me personally, it in college I did a lot of research on like game theory and like gamification and honestly just I kind of treat my
Mhm.
recovery like a video game. Like I try to get the numbers as high as I can. I will actually the reason I ended up getting it was I watched that I think it was called Full Swing, the like the golf documentary,
Mhm.
and I love looking at
Yeah.
what golfers do, what like other output based sports and positions do, like javelin throwers, like track athletes, stuff like that. And every single PGA person that I saw wore it, and I was like, okay, like
Mhm.
if they can play like probably the most mentally taxing sport ever and not get domed up by their whoop, then like I'm 26, like I'm a big boy, like I can figure out a way to be able to pitch without, oh my god, my HRV was down today. Like you know, what I mean, like a lot of
Yeah.
people are like that. You know, what I mean, a lot of people are like that, and those people, like honestly, you either a shouldn't wear it or you should have somebody else log into your whoop and like look at your stuff for you. Like you know what I mean? Like you should. I know there are
Mhm.
some training facilities I know that like send it to all their athletes, you know, and it's like built into your monthly subscription, and it's like they make you track all this stuff, and like you know you don't have to look at it, but they look at all of it for you, and it's I think it's great. I think that is just perfect. Like honestly, it takes away all the negatives. You know, the guy who's probably going to win pitcher of the year for the Mariners this year, we're in a whoop group together. Every single time he pitches, it's like yellow. It's a 38. It's a 40. Like I've never seen him have a green score. One time he threw 7 shutty with like an 18. Like you know what I mean? Like the
Nice.
classic like whoop doesn't measure
Yeah.
dog is like it's kind of a joke, but it's also like, are you gonna let a whoop like tell you whether you're like good or bad today? Like
Yeah. No, I had the post. I was like scrolling back, trying to find your number, like through our Instagram
mhm.
DMs. I saw the post you put up the one time where you screenshotted my tweet, you tagged me, and you had like a 12 recovery score, and then you like, I think you like popped a five
Yeah,
that game. You went like, you had like a ridiculous
yeah.
outing. Like you pitched great, which I thought was hilarious. But yeah, I read Unplugged by Andy Galvin.
Mhm.
Good book. Talks about like you were talking about like the likes and everything, like like the impulse of dopamine and
Yeah.
just like how sensors kind of give some people that,
Mhm.
especially like non-athletes.
Yeah.
I see normies
Yeah.
wearing them. Just like so domed up about their
Yeah.
scores. They're like, oh my gosh, like how many calories that I've earned? Do I have to walk more? Can I eat that piece of cake? Like whatever, stuff like
Mhm.
that. I think I kind of got to that point to where I just had a pretty good internal sense. And the biggest thing for me for starting to wear it was sleep. It wasn't like the calories, it wasn't the recovery
Mhm.
scores more so. Obviously, like the recovery scores tied to the
Yeah.
sleep, but I've never been a good sleeper,
Mhm.
and that was largely in part just like being on my phone, carrying excess stress, like stimmies, like
Yeah.
whatever. And I got to a sustainable place to where I was like, all right, I know what I need to do to get a green
Mhm.
score. And so, like, if that's the only reason I'm wearing this to make sure that I wake up in the
Yeah.
green or like get a good night's
Yeah.
sleep, then like, I don't want to be too tied into the strain, the things. Like, I'm trying to cut right
Mhm.
now, and I'm trying to get the beach
Yeah.
bod for when I head down to the
Hell yeah.
Carolinas. And I was like, I just want the internal sense of like knowing, okay, you burn this many calories based on your activity. You eat the same 4 fucking meals every day. Like your calories aren't going to deviate.
Yeah.
I do think it is a very useful tool
Mhm.
though for guys understanding the effect of the external stressors or the external things that are influencing their
Mhm.
performance. And I would say for like for someone with a younger training age or somebody who's like not dialed in to like understanding what it's like to be a professional
Mhm.
athlete or what it takes, I would say like if you wear it long term, great. Wear it for a month, wear it for 2 months,
Yeah.
3 months, 4 months, and just like see how the trend is and like see how you're
Yeah.
performing. Because I think it does give you a lot of useful information on that front.
Mhm. Yeah, it's definitely kind of like I think feel like you've definitely reached like the enlightenment stage of the Whoop experience. Like
Oh,
you just
100%.
kind of wear it until you're like,
100%.
okay, like if I sleep this much and drink this much water and do this much activity, it'll be this. And it's like,
Hmm.
I think I'll probably wear it until I don't know when. Like, I don't really see a reason to take it off. Whenever I have it on, it's kind of like accountability, with like the gamification,
Hmm.
whatever. But like my buddy wears it too,
Yeah.
and he wakes up at 6 every morning and doesn't go to bed until after midnight. And I'm like, dude, why do you drop $30 a month for the thing to tell you that you don't sleep enough
Right.
and you're stressed out because your job like
Yeah.
works you to the ground? Like, why are you paying this money for that? He's like, oh, I just love it. It's just
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? It tells me the calories and stuff. I'm like, all right, like if you like it, go ahead. But you know what I mean? As far as like an
Hmm.
actual point, you kind of just get to a point where everybody that I've talked to that's had it kind of gets to the point where you are, and it's like, man, I kind of know what I need to do. Like, we're good.
Yeah, and I think the breaking point for me, anytime I've taken it off or stopped wearing it for any period of time, and the people that I've also seen be like, I'm off the Whoop train, whatever, is when they hit the point where the numbers on the screen start to actually affect like your physical
Yeah.
response to something. So like if you do wake up in the red, it's the first thing you check in the
Hmm.
morning. You get the notification, you slept this much, or like your REM sleep decreased, like
Hmm.
whatever, and then you're like, oh shit, here we
Yeah.
go, like it's gonna be a bad day, like, oh, I'm not dialed for that meeting, or like, I'm gonna have a shitty
Yeah.
workout, like I'm gonna have a shitty outing, like whatever it is, like that's the point to where I think it's like maybe let's just be a little bit more internal about how we're feeling. But still, I mean, it's a great tool. The guy that started it went to freaking Harvard,
Yeah.
and they keep adding stuff in to make the product better. And I think it's good. I think it's really good, especially for like this day and age, to where health is becoming more of like a mainstream thing for a lot of people. People are starting to like dial in their health a little bit more and like understand the effects of certain
Hmm.
things. And anything that's going to hold people accountable to like sleep more and
Yeah.
exercise and just like take care of
Yeah.
themselves, I don't think that's a bad
Yeah.
thing for the large majority of the population.
Absolutely. It's honestly not like if I ever sleep bad, my buddy will text me like, "So you just like don't want to get better today? You're just 7.5. That's like all you're gonna do." And I'm
Right.
like that right there is honestly the best facet of the Whoop is the fact that I can get in groups with my
Hmm.
friends and they can privately shame me about it. Like, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what is like your current training rabbit hole you're kind of going down? Because we talked about the
mm-hmm.
swimming. We're trying to gain velo right now. If I'm you,
100%.
right? We're trying to gain
Yep.
velo. You're trying to gain velo. Trying to get bigger, stronger, faster. What's something you found interesting, or something that you're excited to kind of get into as you kind of go through this off season? Maybe try and find some unlocks, or just something that you've seen have a direct transfer into the goal that you're chasing right now.
So on the throwing side of things, it's kind of interesting. I'm on like my current rabbit hole is that I don't allow myself to go down any rabbit holes. I don't allow myself to coach myself. I don't allow myself to like think about my mechanics. Like I don't look at side view anymore. Like when I first started with tread like 2 years ago, I was throwing bullpens and I would like look at my thing side view and I was like, dude, my mechanics are great. Like I'm in such a good spot. Like why is the ball 88? And then, I sent all my videos in and I got assigned Turner as my coach. And he was like, yeah, like your mechanics look horrible. Like this, and this, like this is wrong. This is wrong. And I was like, well, thank God something's wrong. Cause like I couldn't figure it out. And I was reading a book by Rick Rubin the other day. And he talked about how artists, after about 30 minutes of working on a song or a piece of artwork or anything, they completely lose the ability to objectively look at it. And as somebody who has like a
Mm,
good base of throwing knowledge and training knowledge, it's like really easy for me to be like, oh, like nobody's going to look out for me better than me. And it's like true, but like I'm not able to coach myself the way that I'd be able to coach somebody else or somebody else would be able to coach me. So when I joined Tread originally, I was like, okay, like I don't care what these people have me do. Like I'm just going to do exactly what they say and like not worry about it. Like we're just going to do it. And I got a lot better. I had a lot of success. Then I came back for another off season. I was like, okay, like this is what I need to do. Like I played pro ball this, and this. And then like you look back at video from this past off season, and I'm like, bro, like what are you trying to accomplish? Like that is just like it was. Mechanics were horrible. The throw just looked terrible. I had a bad spring training. I got put in extended, and I went over to Dean Jackson's place to throw. And I just like I remember like ripping balls, like an entire BP bucket of balls into a pen just because I was pissed. And I think my fastest one was like 89.7. And I was like, okay, like whatever, like bullpen day, like at a random thing, like no adrenaline, whatever, blah. And then Dean came up to me and was like, hey man, like how you been doing? Like I was like, yeah, like not very good, like velo's down, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, it looks like you have no clue what you're trying to accomplish with your throw right now. And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, honestly, you're right. Like I was trying to coil and like load my pelvis or whatever, but like as far as like what I thought would be good, like I had no basis of like what I needed to do to get there. And so like the new thing is like I just don't coach myself at all. I don't try to go down any rabbit holes. Like if Turner tells me to do something, I do it. I pay a lot of money. I got lucky to have a great coach. Like you've worked with Turner, like literally like worked with him as like a coworker. Like he's great. It's like why would I like what am I doing going there every day to try and coach myself? Like that's
That guy gets on my
I
fucking
bet he
nerves.
does. You guys are like boys. So it's like if he's not getting on your nerves, you guys really aren't friends at this point. It's like
I
it's
know
kind of a
exactly. We
prerequisite.
throw a lot of shit at each other.
But
I think in our podcast we're gonna get into like a verbal altercation at some point. But
that's awesome.
no, but he's great. I mean, he's like, as far as someone to be brutally honest with you, which I think is what you want as an
Mhm.
athlete, like he is 100% the guy. Like he'll tell you straight up, even if it's like something that we're dealing with, like just as
Yeah.
friends, he'll call me right away and he'll be like, dude, what's going on?
Mhm.
Like, what's the deal? Like,
100%.
and just be like right to the point.
Mhm.
It's that Texan in him,
Oh,
I think.
100%. Like I've literally said that word for word to people. Like buddies of mine will come in and they're like new to the facility and they'll see Turner like walking around doing something and he's like so straight to the point. He'll like say something to somebody and they're
Yeah.
like, dude, that Turner guy, man. Like I'm like, no, no, no. He's just from Texas. Like I promise he's like a nice like
Yeah. He's great. I love that guy. Yeah, but it's so like the Rick Rubin thing. That's so funny because like I think it's a very left brain. I've been doing like a lot of season like left brain, right brain dominance, and like I think it's very much more like a left brain thing for creatives or people that have like the inept to create
Mhm.
things. Um, to like be more left brain to where like they will go to the ends of the earth to like try and figure something out. That's also their detriment because like their brain is always like pinging off the walls, like trying to figure things out,
Absolutely.
which like aids into the creative process, but that also gets guys into the
No
supernova,
doubt.
which is like it's the double edged sword
No
of it,
doubt.
you know?
Yeah. And it's funny, your other buddy, Jay
Yeah.
Liz, I came back this off season. I was talking to him. I was like, yeah, dude, like just in a bad spot, like was in the dome, like overthinking things. And he's like, yeah, like a lot of people try to tell you that, right? And I was like, yeah, I think I just kind of like laughed it off and thought they were kidding. He's like, no, dude, like everybody was telling you were in a bad spot. And I'm like, woulda, shoulda, coulda, whatever. Like, wish I could have done it better, but like,
Mm-hmm.
we're in a good spot now, and we've unfortunately learned our lesson, hopefully for the last time. So, and we're making a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
progress now. Like, we're in a good spot, so you know, things are good.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I'm excited for the off season for you. I'm excited to just follow you, and I think you're gonna do very special
Thank
things.
you.
So yeah. But last question I really have is like talk about balance. I think you do a very good job of this. Like for someone like you who has dedicated most of their free time, free will towards like training and pursuing this one goal,
Mm-hmm.
where do you kind of see balance fit into that? Because I think it is important for some guys to have balance. There's tons of people on the internet that will just say like sell out for this one
Yeah,
thing. The Instagram reel, the guy with the black and white,
yeah,
black and white
yeah,
filter, just like go, 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 Jocko, like screaming into the
yeah.
microphone, whatever. Like, but it is important to like have other interests and other things that you do to just like decompress and deconnect from the actual thing that you're doing so you can reload and recharge and come back to that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like what are some of those things that you do and where do you kind of see that fitting in as a guy who's been through the ups and
Mm-hmm.
downs and been through the gamut as far as training and
Mm-hmm.
baseball and everything like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's honestly super interesting. Like something I really never thought that would be the way that it is in my experience, the better the athlete that I've played with, the better the like at Ole Miss or NC State or whatever. you'd leave practice and not a single thing would be said about baseball. You'd try to talk about baseball and everybody would look at you like you have three heads. Like, what's your problem, dude? Like, leave me alone. Like, they'd be going home and playing
Yeah.
PGA Tour or Call of Duty or something. Like, no, dude, I don't want to talk about how Coach Avent yelled at everybody at practice today. Like, I got better things to do. And it was weird. I always figured like the better you were, the more time you spent in baseball, like being about it, all about it, like looking at stuff in the off season or in your off time. And it's like, I went to Ole Miss and not a single person, like, you play baseball, you're done at 6 o'clock. And it's like, yeah, like you wouldn't even know. Like, maybe they have a baseball thing like sitting on their wall or something, but it's like, they don't talk about it. They don't think about it. They just completely shut their brain off. And I think, in my opinion, the way of, sell out, sell out, sell out, like part of selling out and putting yourself in the best opportunity to be successful is like ignoring baseball for 6 hours when you go home. Like, if I go home and I looked at mechanics for 5 hours, like, I guarantee you I would be worse tomorrow. If I went home and watched MLB for 5 hours and I saw some dude throwing some slider and I was like, oh, I got to go and try that, like, I would be worse. If I went on Pitching Ninja and went through his pitch grips archive, which is an amazing resource and it's great, but like, that's not going to put me in a better place to be good. Like, it's going to make me probably hate baseball. I'm probably like not going to put as much effort towards training because in my head I spent the whole night training too, so there was no time off from it. And like the first time I trained with Turner, I had like a velo day where I was like ripping gray balls into a net. You might have actually been there that day. I was literally grunting gray balls into a net at like 85, 86.
Yeah.
And I literally just like sat in the corner and was like on the brink of tears. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, how am I this? Like, I threw 85 when I was 15 years old. I am now 25. Like, what the hell is wrong with me? And then Turner's
Yeah.
like, okay, like, just go play golf and like forget about it. And I went and I played golf and like shot a 180 because I was thinking about baseball the whole time and just pissed. And then I played again on the next week because my buddy like invited me to come play like the day before I had a velo day, and I was like, screw it, dude. Like, I had a perfect. Well, I didn't have a whoop at the time, but I was like, I recovered perfectly the day before. Did nothing. Like, canceled all my lessons. Like, screw it. I'm gonna go play golf in 100 degrees. Played 36 holes.
Mhm.
I don't remember how I played. Came in the next day and was like 92, 93 and like hit a PR. And Turner was like, what'd you do yesterday? I like literally didn't even go into the facility. I was like, well, I didn't touch a baseball and I swung a golf club 200 times. And he's like, okay, you're going to do that every single time. And I don't do that anymore. But for somebody who was like in the spot of needing to do that because he spent too much time looking at baseball, like, that's really good. And so I think, kind of to get back to the main point of selling out doesn't mean you're in the lab looking at baseball stuff 24/7. You know what I mean? Selling out means like
Mhm.
you're doing the things you need to do in order to be at your best. Like, if that's like, I don't know, maybe you go for a walk and like go and try some like try like a wine flight the day before you pitch because you need to decompress. Like, I know people who do that and they're way better than I am. Like, that's obviously not stopping them from being good. Like, another buddy of mine who's like,
Yeah.
he's actually a really good dude and he's kind of a headpiece, but his girlfriend's like a super mega baseball fan. And he'll pitch and throw good, throw bad, whatever. And like, he came in the locker room one day and was like, yeah, like, that home run I gave up, like, I went home and my girlfriend was like asking me why I threw the 0-2 curveball here instead of like trying to go high fastball. And I was like, dude, if I had to go home and get yelled at about pitch selection by my girlfriend, it would be over for me. Like, either I'm quitting baseball or that relationship's done because like I can't do that. And it's
Yeah.
like, bro, like, I respect the fact that like she loves baseball so much and she's always there for him, but dude, like, I'm already trying to get that off my mind enough. Like, I already know I shouldn't have hung the 0-2 slider. Like, if I got to hear that from
Right.
somebody else, like, oh boy, like, it is not going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Goodness gracious. The golf thing is so funny, and I think like that's kind of the progression. It's either like golf or slow pitch softball for guys that kind of like leave their baseball career, or I don't know. Here we have like kickball, like cup in hand kickball
Yeah.
or whatever. But like my mom in high school, if I had like a bad game at the plate, because I was never a pitching guy up until 4 years ago, I would like have a bad game at the plate or like make a couple errors, just have like a bad game in general. And I would like get home, put my stuff down. She'd be like, all right, change, get in the car, we're going to the driving
Nice.
range. And like that was always like my
Mhm.
reset. And then like that was always like, clear the
Yeah.
mechanism. That was like always my like clearing of the mechanism to just be like, at the end of the day, this doesn't matter. Like, yeah, it does matter to
Mhm.
me, but in the moment, it's such a minuscule piece of time that like there is other things that are going to like contribute to my overall happiness and well-being, and just like getting your mind off it, I think is so important.
Absolutely.
I just got off a call with a guy that was in like a very similar spot. Like we talked for like 45 minutes, and I'm like, dude, just go for a
Yeah.
walk, take the dog
Mhm.
out, throw the ball around with him, like
Yeah.
just do something
You'll
else.
realize
But
there's an
it's
entire
so important. I think
sphere of your life where like they don't care that you punched out 4 times, or they don't care that you walked the house. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that 7-year-old kid I gave a lesson to
yeah,
the other day, like he doesn't care that I got released. Like it doesn't matter to him. Like he just wants to like throw the ball and like me tell him if it was a strike or not. Like that's all he wants to do. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And then like going to play golf, or like I know kids who like will do it and like they'll just like we're going home, we're getting ice cream, and we're just gonna watch Survivor for 10 hours. Like I'm just turning off my brain and like not thinking about it. But I wish that's
yeah,
something I definitely realized too late. You know, like at Ole Miss, I was like super like baseball 24/7. Like I'm here to play baseball, nothing else. Blah blah blah. And it's like I was a head case. I got domed up. Like pitched horrible. Got cut. Like okay, that wasn't it. Let's try something else. And it's like so many people are
hmm
in that same spot.
yeah. I mean, if you start a conversation with like someone random, baseball can. I mean, if they're a baseball fan, absolutely, you could talk to them for an
Mm-hmm.
hour. But like, you go out and talk to some random dude that loves fishing or loves, a certain band or whatever, and it's like, holy shit, the portals that you can open
Yeah.
up as far as
Oh my
conversation.
God. Yeah.
It's like, and it's like it gets you out of your dome too, because it's like
one Hundred
refreshing.
percent.
If you're baseball all the time, and like somebody else comes to you and they're as passionate about this other
Yeah.
thing as passionate as you are about like
Yeah.
baseball, it's like, wow, like there's some other stuff out
Dude, I
here.
spent
Like maybe I gotta
45 minutes
expand my
looking at
mindset a
different
little
dog
bit.
collars for my dog the other day. Like, there's literally so many different, yeah, there's so many different things.
Look at him, Eli.
He's like, I'm getting a dog collar. Is that what we're doing? Like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the way that something was said to me by one of the mental skills coaches with the Mariners that actually stuck with me. You know, he looked at me and was like, okay, can you name every Hall of Famer from the 2011 Hall of Fame class? And I was like, I can't name a single one. He's like, okay, cool. There's a handful of people in the Hall of Fame from a year, and you've never heard of them. Like you go out and you're a baseball player. Imagine you go on the street. Like if I accomplished everything I ever wanted, I won 15 straight World Series, pitched as like closer of the year for a decade. Like I go to the Mexican restaurant down the street and I'm like, hey, I'm this guy. The waiter's gonna be like, okay, cool, bro. Like you want salsa? Like they just there's
Yeah.
entire groves of people who have accomplished everything they've ever wanted in life, and 90% of the population doesn't know where they are or who they are. So it's kind of an
Yeah.
interesting perspective.
I'm a big hockey fan, and
There you go.
I'm not going to name the player in case he listens to
Mm-hmm.
this, but big Capitals fan.
Okay.
Was a member of the Capitals. There's a big bar in Ocean City,
Mm-hmm.
Maryland, called Secrets.
Okay.
It's the biggest bar on the eastern seaboard or
Holy
something.
crap.
It's like attached to the
Okay.
water. And my sister was there one time. He was in line, and everyone like is kind of like whispering, like, "Oh, is that the guy?" He goes to the front of the line, skips like this 200-person line, goes directly to the front, goes to the bouncer. He's like, "Hey man, can I get in?" And the guy looks at him like, "Yeah, 10
He's
minutes."
like, no, you can't, bro.
He's like, "Yeah, line back of the lines back there,
Yeah.
bud." And goes back like he's like he pulls like the literal like, "Do you know who I am?" Which you
Yeah,
never
no,
would,
because the guy does not
as
know who
like a
you are if you
sane.
have to pull that.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so he goes to the back of the line, defeated, pissed off, probably a little bit of booze in the system, and he gets to the front of the line. Instead of showing like his state
Mm-hmm.
ID, he shows his NHL player card. And I think that I would hope that the guy charged him $300 for cover at that point. Like, or told him like, "Oh, this isn't valid. I don't see your birthday on here, pal." But I don't know. I don't know how that story ended up. Hopefully he used his low NHL player
There you go.
contracts money to buy some beverages that
There you
evening.
go.
But yeah, man, it's important to have balance and some
No doubt.
humility in anything
Mhm.
you do. So, But dude, this was awesome.
Oh yeah,
First time connecting, we
for
ripped
sure,
it,
bro.
which is awesome. Anything you want to close with? Where can people follow you? What do you have to say to the masses? Kind of like a closing statement here.
I'm on Twitter, like we said. I'm running an Instagram now. I started that about, I don't know, 6 months ago. I'm having a ton of fun over there. It's a
Yeah,
different type of platform, but it's really enjoyable. I know we kind of talk trash about people DMing us if it's something stupid, but I have a lot of fun helping people out, like telling people this and that. Like if you ever need help for anything, like hit me up. Like if you want to just like say hey, talk about something like you're struggling with like the college selection process, or like you don't know where you want to go or what you need to do, like hit me up. Like that stuff, like I know I'm not the only one. Like you probably feel the same way. Like we do this because we like to help people out and we like to be able to you know hopefully like improve someone's well-being someday. Like what I mean? It's pretty simple. Like I put who I am on social media. I hope that people like it. If they don't, cool. But like I've met a lot of people. I hope to meet a bunch more. And like if you want to reach out to me, feel free. It's not like don't think that I'm some like pro player that's some, like some intimidating person. Like, no, dude, like 90% of baseball players are absolute like slaps and clowns. Like if you were able to sit in the locker room, you'd literally look around and be like, these people are idiots. I can't believe I ever gave these people respect. So yeah, pretty much that, man. Like honestly, on a deeper meaning, like if there's somebody who you're intimidated by because of what they are, like odds are they're just a normal dude and they happen to be really good and really gifted at what they do. I think you posted about it a couple weeks ago. You're like, yeah, like the dude who won MVP, like his dog shits in the house too. Like he's got to clean it up. He's got to
yeah,
take care of that. Like everybody's dealing with
right,
the same stuff, and like
right.
don't let that stop you from trying to reach out to somebody.
Yeah, awesome, bro. Well, I super appreciate you.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to obviously staying in touch, and when I'm down in the Carolinas, we'll have to work on the golf
Oh
game a
yeah,
little
dude.
bit.
Greenville's not too far. It's
And
like an hour and a half from me. So like we can find like a course in upstate or something. I think Will Davis is going to be in town that weekend too, so we can all get together.
hell yeah, yeah. Well, he'll be. I won't have my child here, my four-legged child. So Daddy'll have two weeks to roam around the
Hell yeah.
Carolinas. So we'll definitely get some FaceTime.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is John. Super interesting follow, super interesting guy, and look out for him this off season. And yeah, we ripped it.
Yeah, dude.
So I appreciate
It
you,
was
brother.
awesome.
Thank you so